Seth, what were you 10 years ago?
Religious. Spent a lot of time in the mosque. Was celibate. Didn't drink.
Would you tell 19-year-old Jonny to not dye his hair? This is the question that the internet has tuned in to hear.
Buy Bitcoin, buy Facebook, buy Netflix, buy Amazon, and don't bother with uni.
You need to stop drinking and focus on personal development. You need to focus on yourself first and not on other people. You don't know as much as you think you do. Stop getting into relationships with girls that are bad for you. No, I really mean it. Stop getting into relationships with girls that are bad for you.
You think you know it all, don't you, when you're 19? You think you've got it figured out. You haven't got a fucking clue until you're at least 28. And I would say probably 39-year-old me will be saying the same thing.
I can tell you the equivalent of, mate, you're going to get hit by a car in 10 years' time, and you won't believe it until you get hit by the car.
Wherever you are giving people the most advice, it's probably where you need the advice the most. All this stuff that we've just said is all advice that we all need right now.
Podcast time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm joined by Jonny and Yusef from propanefitness.com.
Jonny and Yusef.
Yusef from Jonny.
And Jonny.
And Jonny from Yusef. Yusef's got rid of the moustache. He's back now with a beard. It's a better look.
Goodness. So much better.
Less pedo-y. What?
You didn't mention that in the last one.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to play the podcast game of time.
Yeah. Anyway, today we are talking about advice that we would give ourselves 10 years ago. Pretty good opportunity for us to just unload all of the shit that we've learned over the last 10 years. But we're going to try and keep it to within an hour. So hopefully be nice and condensed. Maybe you can take some wisdom away that we've gleaned, hard-earned wisdom over the last few years through blood and sweat and tears and feces.
Our loss is your gain.
That's a really good tagline for a product. Of some kind.
Like a hair loss product or something. No, that'd be your loss is our gain.
Well, yeah, which is a bit insidious.
Because if you lose your hair, then we're a profitable business. I suppose we'll actually know, because in that instance, we're getting too much into it.
Anyway, so let's do some framing. Jonny, what sort of a person were you? How old were you, and what sort of a person were you 10 years ago?
I was, maths time, I was 19.
Very blonde.
Yeah, I dyed my hair blonde at the time.
Was it highlights or was it fully dyed?
Full heado.
I think it's the only Facebook status I remember you posting as like a status. It was quoting your dad.
Oh, yeah. Said that, I mean, I'm not going to do it.
Say it!
No, because...
You have to start the podcast again.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was a derogatory
about
remark made about Johnny's hair.
I was probably quite... So I think the thing that I would tell 19-year-old Jonny, and probably 20-year-old, 21-year-old, 22, probably up to like...
We're getting into it already.
27. Well, it's just because this is the theme. Like, you think you know it all, don't you, when you're 19? You think you've got it figured out. You're like, yeah, I've been through my teens now. I know the crack. I know the score. I know the scene. You haven't got a fucking clue until you're at least 28, 27. And I would say probably 39-year-old me
Going to think
will be saying the same thing. And that probably, I just think your entire 20s are just this one big realisation that nothing's unbelievable if you don't know what you're doing.
You're just fumbling around in a dark room.
Yeah,
trying
to find the light switch.
Looking, what's that? I can't use that. What's this? I can't use that.
Oh, that's out of date.
Yeah. Fucking shit. Would you? Okay, so let's take it from the top. Would you tell 19-year-old Jonny to not dye his hair? That's the question. This is the question that the internet has tuned in to hear.
That's why everyone's here.
Yes.
All these people here.
Thousands of people.
That's why they're here today. I think you have to do things to learn why. So I'd have told myself not to, and I wouldn't have listened to me. Maybe I would listen to me. I don't know.
You also don't want to be one of those people who at the age of 40 never dyed their hair when they were 18.
Midlife crisis.
It's like,
so what happened was I finished school. I went on a holiday, like the holiday a lot of people go on when they finish school. Broke up with the girlfriend I was with at the time. I was just about to go to uni. I had all this really long summer ahead of me. And I was like, you know what? Bollocks, I'm going to dye my hair.
I'm going to become the guy that has blonde hair.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm just going to become this different person. And I think going into uni, it did a lot for my confidence. And I can't place why. But at the time, now it would be really weird. I think no one does that. But at the time, loads of people were. So yeah, I probably would do it again.
Cool. So what else were you? What was your
I was about
identity?
I was
Sort
about
of wrapped around?
77 kilos.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
a lot of weight gain
I'd
in
gone
10
from
years, man.
yeah, I'd gone from
2 kilos a year over 10 years.
yeah,
Fuck
yeah.
me.
Is that right? Actually, yeah, probably around 80 kilos. Is that right? Yeah.
I remember end of school, you went up to, he was in Stone at the time, so I think he kissed 100 post holiday.
No,
dropped down.
That
and then
almost right, but I'd been at uni for a bit.
oh, okay.
Anyway.
So, yeah, we'll get in the weeds. So yeah, just come out of like doing a lot of running. So I did a lot of running when I was that age.
Legs.
Legs.
Long
Yeah,
legs.
I was good at running actually. Probably thought I was just going to follow a traditional path. So propane didn't exist then.
2008
Yeah.
was the...
Oh, so it did. The outline of it existed, but I thought it was like there's no way I'll ever do that as a more than a joke. I was studying economics, probably pretty boring. Bursting to get to uni and just blow it all out.
Let loose.
Just give the tubes a good. Just give them a good.
Get the
good
pipes
cleaning,
clean.
yeah.
Just all pipes.
Okay.
Yeah, just give it.
Yeah.
Have a good.
Good
You
rule.
really get in it, and
All right, so that's where
Get
you
it
were
all out.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Seth, what were you 10 years ago?
So
I'm looking forward to this.
yeah, there's a lot of differences there, I think. So I think just going back 1 year more. So
Yep.
just before 18th birthday was 59 kilos.
What do you weigh now?
Went up, so over 3 months I gained 30 kilos. Went up to 90, thinking it was all muscle.
Over 3 months.
It was probably 3 to 6 months. It was when I was doing like
Go mad.
pint of double cream before bed, shots of olive oil throughout the day. Mutant Mass had consumed 8 kilos of that, which is a 1,000 calorie drink that you have, a 2,000 calorie drink that you have twice a day. Just like plowed the food. Otherwise was very religious.
How did that manifest?
Spent a lot of time in the mosque, was celibate, didn't drink. All of the kind of...
I have a memory of Yusef from this period of time. One of the only memories I have. We were on an art trip. It would have been like 18, 17.
Ramadan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was walking.
Not Madonna.
We were in Ambleside on an art trip. I went for a piss at like 4 a.m. Noticed there was a light on, someone in a room. Put my head in. Yusef sat by himself eating a green pepper like an apple.
So this is the difference between like the flipping between extremes of, at the time, probably weighed under 60 kilos.
Shreddy though.
Shreddy
Breck.
but thinking that a green pepper is the thing to eat when you've got a window of time to eat in Ramadan, and you're trying to retain your
And you're having
body weight.
super low volume, super high volume, super low calorie
Like,
food.
couldn't have found a vegetable with lower calories, really. So, and then
It's mostly air, isn't it?
Mostly
You open it up and it's just
yeah.
a hole
True,
inside
actually.
of it, yeah.
and then switched from that to the other extreme. So yeah, very quiet, religious. Didn't really know why I was at uni or what I was doing. Like, went in to do maths just because I thought, I like maths. And then ended up kind of on the wrong track and not. So there's some lessons to be learned from that. But I was also very reckless with my body in that, obviously gaining mad amounts of weight, but also just training on and through pain quite a lot. So there's a few training mistakes to get into as well, but I'm sure we'll get into that in a second.
Did you do you doing squatting 3 times a week or something?
For a while, yeah. I mean,
Breathing squats.
breathing squats. We rotated through all kinds of
Madness,
every stupid diet and training.
It seems like so hearing some of the common themes between both of your guys' things, what you've both come back with is fitness. So in one form or another, fitness was still a really big bit of your life when you 10 years ago, late teens.
We were premenopausal, so it was...
I think probably both of us pre-fitness were probably, maybe not for you. I was fat, lacking in confidence, like 16, 17-year-old me, like no female attention, no, like, didn't really think very much of myself. and then fitness was my like access into gaining self-belief, I think. Was that the same for you, or less so?
It was something that I just kind of, I don't think I've got as much of like a kind of
Rocky story.
Rocky kind of story for that. But it's definitely the common thread that like went between extremes of just trying mental stuff and then 10
which I mean, later, 10 years later, joining a cult, forced submersion for 2 hours a day, getting banned from Jesmond Pool. Reminders to set yourself to just eat a big bowl of spinach. Like nothing's changed.
That is a few years ago, and now it's very much just on maintenance mode. Like it's, I think, having taken all that stuff out, cleared out the pipes, it's just on
the mechanism of being.
It's how we all met, though, isn't it? Fitness in one way or another.
It's true.
So we met because in the school gym. We met Chris because of propane fitness. We met Ben because of Harrison.
Yeah, so all
lifting.
All comes back to barbell.
Well, I mean,
where were you 10 years ago, Chris?
So I would have been 21. So
you're on the Central Reservation in Spain.
Tenerife's like, no, that was 25.
Right.
It was a little while before I went on TV.
So you'd have been finishing uni?
No, so I did a placement year and then also did masters. So I was at uni for 5 years. So I only left uni at 23.
We'd have met you
25. The years. So 1 year. No, sorry, 24.
Right.
So 21, I would have been still running Carnage, which is a big bar crawl in Newcastle.
You are still saved in my phone as Chris Carnage Williamson.
I can tell the people that know me from that era because they just call me Carnage. And it's the most bizarre thing to hear someone say that now. The same as people that don't know that I used to have a massive afro. The same as people that don't know that I was on Take Me Out or Love Island. Like, you have these epochs of your life and people arrive in it. And especially if you do kind of what we've done and you're in the world of online marketing or, like content creation or whatever, there are people that inevitably come, like there'll be people that you'll have listened to 10 years ago that you don't listen to now. Like the guys from like T Nation or whatever, like, and you'll be able to quote their stuff inside out.
So is afro like a line in the sand for you? That like, is that a time that...
I think so, yeah.
Have you had, I don't know if you've had anyone who you haven't seen since pre-afro, and then they approach you and speak to you as if, like, as the Chris that they knew, and it's almost like a...
As Afro Carnage.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Like, there's a phenomenon where, like, people put you in a role that they remember you in.
Yeah.
Well, until they update the programming, why should they consider anything? Yeah, they've got to extrapolate forward. You know what I mean? Unless you come and you've now got like long hair and dreads and you're covered in tattoos and you're wearing elephant pants, like why would they presume that anything's changed?
Yeah.
So 21, I would have been fully drinking the club promoter Kool-Aid. I would have just completed. So right now, considering that we're in December, I would have just been kicked out of Scotland by Scottish Parliament for having our personal licenses threatened for both me and Darren through on BBC Radio Parliament Scotland. Because they didn't want Carnage doing multi-site bar crawl events in their cities. So we ran out. I would have also just been hit head on at 60 miles an hour by a snowplow on the A1 going up to Scotland, which...
Hit by a
snowplow at 60 miles an hour, so 120 mile an hour impact. That was fun.
It's amazing that you were all right.
Yeah, well, it only clipped us, but the damage was intense. Every airbag deployed and all the rest of it. Anyway, that was fun. But this was when I was...
Shout, intimate!
I was hosting in Tup Tup Palace with my top off 3 nights a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Glitter, stencil.
Stencil, spray paint.
This is where I put you in like the Scott Timlin and sort of mates
Gary
with
Beadle,
all that. Yeah.
Scott Disneyland, all that, Joss Mooney, like that whole crew. That was it. So that was, I think, probably... the height of, or close to the height of like hyper partying for me. But yeah, again with that, like I'd started to attach a lot of my sense of self-worth to my success within business, to my notoriety socially around town. I think going through school, I'd been less central socially with like big groups of people and stuff, and then you get to uni and it's the ultimate chance to kind of reinvent yourself and become someone and have a tighter social circle. And I just had sort of found my feet with that, and then it becomes like this self-perpetuating cycle of like party more, no more people become more popular, party more, but no more people become more popular, and then you can always justify it because it's like, well, it's my job. Like my job is to know people. The more people that know me, the more come to my events, the more money we make. So yeah, that would have been that. And then rolling it forward for me, there was quite an important period between 21 and 24, which was when I started to properly become a businessman with regards to events, started running weekly Saturdays. And anyway, I think a lot of my time again there was fitness, was quite bothered about my training, was about to go. So in 6 months' time, I would have been going to go and do a season in Ibiza. Like fell in love with a girl out in Ibiza and went and had this like crazy holiday romance thing out there, which was like a really interesting, like beautiful experience actually, like even 10 years on, still like a lovely thing to look back on. But yeah, I think that's kind of probably a pretty good landscape to do that. So to give it a headline, right, we can get into some nuance and stuff in a second, but you've got 30 seconds. You can phone yourself 10 years ago from now and you've got 30 seconds. To like speak to them, and I'm going to time it on here, so you can have a minute to prep. I actually got asked this. Oh no, it's in the 6-minute diary. It's in the 6-minute diary, and it's like you've got 30 seconds. So I just wrote it out. So I think I can probably afford to go first if you want. Okay, right.
Do you want me to time you?
I can watch it on here. I can see it. Okay, so ring ring, ring ring.
Hello.
Hi mate, it's Chris. Don't ask. Right. You need to stop drinking and focus on personal development. You need to learn to focus on yourself first and not on other people. Confidence comes from within. You don't know as much as you think you do. Stop getting into relationships with girls that are bad for you. No, I really mean it. Stop getting into relationships with girls that are bad for you. You need to spend time around other people. You need to travel more, and you need to let go of the feeling that you are not good enough. There you go. That's nice. 20 seconds.
Oh, but
cut the hair. Cut that hair.
If you got that phone call, you'd just be like
Kelly Stewart in the plane.
Yeah. So the big things for me, or like the big things to take out of that headline were, I kept on getting in and out of relationships with girls, and the longer term reason for that was because I hadn't had a lot of relationships when I was younger. I had a difficulty saying, no, this isn't right, because deep down I don't think I felt like I was worthy. So it's like, who am I to say to this girl that like I'm not supposed, like I shouldn't hurt her? And I think that stemmed from me being like, well, I'm not supposed to have relationships. That wasn't what I've grown up with. This is all new to me. This is a blessing that I should be like really happy for, or whatever. And then other things were, I was focusing very much so on what other people thought of me. I was bothered about like how I was regarded by everybody else, as opposed to indulging in my own, like genuinely in my own interests, which is what I do now with this podcast. It's like I get to speak to whoever I want, and if people like it, great, and if they don't, then fantastic also. Like I'm just bothered about what I do. Pursuing all the passions that I do now, again, is mostly the same. I'm like beholden to very few people, and I don't care. So that was headlines for me. So who wants to go up next? Jonny Yusef?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay, right. Ring, ring. Ring, ring. Answer.
Hi, it's me. Hold on. I need to stop, because
right.
I had it so clearly in my head a minute ago. It's gone.
All right.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone. Okay.
Wait on.
I mean, there's no more high pressure phone call that you've ever got to make, isn't it?
If you got a call from your future self and it was like,
yeah.
Have you heard the thing? Is it in Chimp Paradox or something? It's like how to define your life values, and it's like you've got one. Imagine you're on your deathbed, and your grandkid comes up to you and says, "Granddad, what's a single sentence of advice you give me?" Fuck. And you've got a minute. That's how to define in your life what's most important. Mm. But with that in mind, here comes Yusef.
Ring, ring.
Hello, Yusef speaking.
Ring, ring.
hello, Yusef speaking. That is correct. So listen to me very carefully. Ditch religion, ditch the girlfriend, progressively overload, pick a single program, do it for the next 10 years, don't deviate. Only gain maximum 1 kilogram per month. Take a year, think about what you want to do. And I had another one.
Spend time with Dad.
Yeah, that was it.
How did I know?
Spend time with your parents, meditate, read, do it properly.
Isn't it interesting that, like, it's such simple shit and it's so boring? Like, if I'd got that call from me, fucking hell, all right, mate.
Oh yeah, I definitely wouldn't have wanted to hear this. Don't slip a disc, because I would have been like, oh no, I want to get like a deadlift PB, even if it hurts. Like,
no, that's for the rest of your life. That slip disc is there.
Do not slip a disc.
Do not ring me. Yeah, it's like if I'd got that phone call 10 years ago from fucking boring ass 31-year-old.
Mate.
So you've been sober how long?
Is that
right? Well, how many birds have you banged in that time?
Yeah,
like, and you got rid of the hair. Right. Well, you must still at least be lifting. CrossFit? What? What's that?
Oh, yeah, it didn't even exist.
I know. Right, Jonathan.
Right, I've made a list.
Are you checking it twice?
Naughty
Making a list.
Naughty or
checking it twice. Right. Ring, ring. Ring, ring.
Hello. Right. 1. Do 5-3-1 and track calories from today. Don't deviate from that until you stop progressing on the key lifts. Start meditating from now. Google it, figure out basic stuff, just begin, do something, do 10 minutes. Go to things, go to events, go to things with friends, even if you think, oh, that's a bad idea, that's a waste of time. You'll remember the experiences more than things that you accumulate or buy. Take propane more seriously sooner. Stop pissing around with it. Learn marketing and sales, trading and coding. Hire a coach sooner. Ask for help sooner.
That's far better.
You've nailed it.
But I wrote it down.
Yeah, that's true. We've progressively... Mine was really messy. Yours was kind of messy. And yours was fucking great.
I was thinking too much about the fitness because I've done a podcast already called What Would You Say to Your 18-Year-Old Self? And it was 3 bits of advice,
just fitness-wise,
which is the do 5-3-1 for 10 years, don't deviate. Get as lean as possible once, and then just gain
slowly rediet
back 1 kilo. Bring it back and stay injury free. So, but then the other ones threw me off, and I was like, oh. So, but yeah.
But there's so much to get in.
Yeah.
Take propane seriously. Learn to code. Learn to trade. Those are yeah.
Start meditating. Yeah. Hire a coach.
I think
Jesus.
Like if you're 18, I'd say go an hour a day because you've got so much time when you're 18, but you think you don't.
Do what, an hour a day?
Meditate an hour a day.
Do you know what else I tell myself starting uni? So I'd write myself a morning routine that's still like pretty basic bitch, which would just be like read 2 or 3 pages of something that you find interesting, meditate, and just do 2 Pomodoros of work. Like even if you do fuck all else for the rest of the day, just do 2 Pomodoros.
That and Evernote Premium.
Well, yeah, it didn't exist at the time. I can remember sitting in the corner of my room at uni, writing out, Googling, looking up on like the Tesco website, making myself a diet plan, trying to work out macros and calories, because MyFitnessPal didn't exist.
Jesus.
I was thinking about this.
Pace of progress from 2009 till
people haven't got a fucking clue, and also like I feel like that was the golden era, and it's boring now. Yeah. I remember when I thought creatine. I wasn't sure whether creatine was legal or not.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember
Jack 3D used to have amphetamines in it.
Yeah.
Well, the 2 Pomodoros thing as well. Like I'm convinced that I wasted 18 months of total time between...
And then you cram it.
Yeah, between 18 and 23. I think like...
Right,
dicking around.
That's more macro. You don't mean over a year, you mean over several years.
Just total dicking around.
We've heard what each of us have said.
Oh, download cold turkey. That was going to be step 1.
Download cold.
It didn't exist either. This is what I mean. Like, so My Net Diary was your best crack at tracking calories.
You know what all of us should have done, which would have fixed all of these? Buy Bitcoin. If we'd all just said, buy Bitcoin.
Oh, God. I had a mate who was like, mate, I'm thinking of buying this. It's called Bitcoin. And I was like, no, it sounds stupid.
Well, so buy Bitcoin, buy Facebook, because it just...
Buy Amazon.
Buy Netflix, buy Amazon. And then
that's your life.
And then don't bother with uni. There's no point.
Because those actually would be better than... Because all the advice we're saying now would... Yes, it would have got you to a better stage, but actually we wouldn't have had any of the insight that would have generated the...
So this is the problem. This is one of the
sorts
problems.
out your future financially for you know.
Yeah.
And then you can just work
Short
on everything
oil.
I still remember the conversation that we had where it was after when oil like tanked, and we had like, I don't know, maybe like 10 grand or something.
Oil was
in
on
the business.
runner. It was just...
And I was like, how much would we have made if we just shorted oil with all the money in the business at the time? And Yusef was like, it would be infinite. I was just like,
There would be infinite with no down days. Every single day between, I can't remember the dates, but it was like a 2-year run of just tanking oil. So you would have kept
and you just let it run,
re-leveraging and just re-entering the trade at 50 times leverage, and you would have just... It's because
you ended up with an anus like a windsock as a result of that period of time, didn't you?
It's because I entered far too late. It was the time when I think it was the Saudis or the Kuwaitis that were just dumping oil into the supply, not caring about the price.
So that's an important thing. Let's say you're someone you can be any age and listening to it and thinking, oh, there's a couple of tiny little nuggets of wisdom in that flood of shit that's just been put out there.
There'll be several people who just download 531 and start doing it though, won't there? And they'll be saved.
Them.
That's made me realise how terrible I'd be on a 30-second phone call with myself. You'd be like, and download cold turkey.
You'd plan it though, wouldn't you? You'd plan it.
Yeah.
What you want to do is give advice that is access to advice, rather than the advice itself.
Ring this person, speak to that person,
so exactly,
do this person. Yeah, because then you leverage the time.
Yeah.
So some people might be listening and fucking whatever age, there might be some nuggets of wisdom, and we'll get into them in a second. But you've hit
modern wisdom.
Modern wisdom. This is 10 years ago wisdom. You've hit the nail on the head there, that without context, without like the environment to absorb these understandings, it's fucking nothing. Like all of and I was going to do a podcast on this ages ago, and I realized that it was a 1-sentence podcast, and the question was, why do realizations about our lives take so long to sink in? I can tell you the equivalent of, mate, you're going to get hit by a car in 10 years time, and you won't believe it until you get hit by the car.
Yeah.
And we are doing that constantly, riding the crest of now all the time. Like, I know for an absolute fact that if I stopped doing Instagram, stopped doing Twitter, stopped doing Facebook, and doubled down on podcasts and YouTube, my reach in 5 years' time would be bigger than if I did that, and I'd be happier, and I'd be more productive. I know it for a fact, but I can't bring myself to do it until the point comes when I have to do it.
I think in 5 years' time, it'll all just be search.
One platform.
Well, just search platforms. I
Facebook,
think the social stuff will
Instagram will be one, won't it? So,
but I just think people are fighting it, moving away. Chris is right. Like, people want
to
search-based
be in control
content.
of their
It's where you like create a real following.
So yeah,
I'll start a YouTube channel.
Start fucking
telling yourself that
YouTube
10 years ago.
2010.
Like, really double
when
down
there was
on
about
getting good
3
at YouTube
channels.
Yeah.
Like, people were going viral.
Like, learn Facebook ads. Like, the people who were running Facebook ads in 2007, taking candy from a baby.
So that is such a good point. Like, in fact, anything online. So writing a blog, doing a YouTube channel, like
coding.
Any YouTube channel that is like has 1,000 subscribers and is like mildly successful now would have
100,000 probably 10 years ago.
Back then, if you used a decent camera, that was all you needed to do to differentiate.
So we can be wistfully nostalgic about the time when we could have and should have and would have as much as we want. But I think, without the context, like all of the lessons that we're talking about here kind of don't really matter. So and this is one of the criticisms that I get about life hacks, although I think it's slightly different because those are designed to be piecemeal tools that you add into your life. They're not lessons that are supposed to be learned. But let's try and take some of the stuff. We've had this 90 seconds combined time. What are some of the things that we've tried to look at? We've said, with regards to training, the principle is find a program which forces progressive overload and stick to it and do not change.
So for me, it's encapsulated by, I think it's just Yusef's quote, which is, the bad news is there's no way to accelerate the process. The good news is there's no way to accelerate the process.
Ironically, in us trying so desperately to accelerate the process,
You knacked it.
we we were vacillating with all kinds of little
Because that's it.
tweaks and attempts at optimizing stuff
Yeah.
to the point where we actually lost sight of the
Can
big
you
picture.
describe in 30
Same
seconds
with
what
business as well.
531 is for people who don't know?
So it's non-linear periodization, which just means there is a light week, medium week, heavy week deload, and it focuses on core lifts, big lifts, and it's built-in progressive overload that can last a very long time. So if you just go to the gym and just try and lift more weight, you'll hit a roadblock pretty quickly. If you try and hit more reps than more weight, you'll last a little bit longer, but again hit a roadblock pretty quickly. If you just stick with 531, you start off so light. There's so much longevity built into the way it's programmed, and it's so simple.
Mm-hmm.
You also learn, the nice thing about it is, so many people spend all this time in the gym, they don't really know what it's like to approach a barbell and be a bit worried about it.
But
or even
that forces you
absolutely
into it
terrified about
with
it.
531.
Yeah, that forces you into a level of progression that you wouldn't access through like chest and back.
The problem is it's very butterfly effect, because had Johnny and I just done 531 from the age of 17 and not really thought about it and just let fitness blend into the background, and then 5 years later both be very in very good shape,
Uninjured.
competitive lifters, uninjured, we wouldn't have generated the insight to create a fitness website or with loads of content and loads of richness of experience to be able to create content with.
You also don't know, do you, whether or not doing all that stuff created results even better. That's the real... Because you can't... We talk about this all the time. Like, if only you could split test it.
If you could split test yourself, that would be the number one superpower, hands down.
Yeah.
But you'd have to be able to rerun it though, wouldn't you?
Like,
Because if you were just concurrently split testing...
You can't get to go back, so it doesn't matter.
If it was A/B versus like hundreds of parallel split tests, and then you could just...
Oh, yeah.
So training, we've said the ethos for whoever is listening is find a program which has progressive overload built in. Is that the key thing with 531?
So I think the bigger thing, which is what I was saying with Yusef's quote, is whatever you do, you're going to have to do it for a long time for it to work. So pick something that
You enjoy.
is not that of a difficult thing to do.
And not stupid.
Yeah.
So don't try and become a yoga master whilst also trying to become a power lifter.
Or like if you hate the thought of going to the gym, don't pick going to the gym.
Take up running, take up rugby, take up fucking...
And if going to the gym for 2 hours is a massive problem for your schedule, don't do that either. Like whatever I pick to do now in this week as an example, I'm going to have to do that every week for the rest of this year.
Can I deal with it?
Is that possible? And if not, do something else.
Okay, so that's where we've gone with fitness. What else did we touch on? I think yours was fucking amazing, man.
Learn to
get the
code.
list?
So
I suppose the principle behind learn to code, learn to trade, learn Facebook ads, this is all stuff that only now do we know the impact of having those skills and having learned them or started them 10 years ago.
So advice to people now for them to take, it's less of a global heuristic.
It would be look ahead and say what is going to be the skill or the feature or whatever that is going to be most valuable in 5 years' time, and how can you get an edge on that now? So that's almost an impossible question.
Alexander Cortez podcast I did with him at the start of the year, he said if he was to give someone skills, it would be coding, website copy, the ability to sell, and like speaking, so ability to be on podcasts, to speak live, to have candor with people,
communicate.
Yeah. So the last three I think would be useful, but what we don't know is the future of coding actually going to become less valuable because coding as a skill becomes less code intensive and easier as time goes on, because the tools with which you code with become more and more complex and have larger building blocks to be able to put things together.
Think about making a website, you need to know HTML 10 years ago.
But
Wix.
Now, so actually it's useless to know HTML now if you have to make a website, because even if you were to hand code it in HTML, you're no better.
Not going to be as good as Shopify or...
10 years ago, you could have been the guy who created Wix.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to either be one second order level.
You know, the hardest thing about all this is that right now we're in the position that we're speaking to. Yeah. Because in 10 years, ourselves will be saying the same thing. And you just gave yourself the advice you needed.
Well, a lot of it's still...
Give up on social and focus on
But it's pulling the pin. It's not just about telling the advice, isn't it? It's fucking doing it.
Yeah.
Like, like have known fine well what would probably have been optimal with your training or with your diet or whatever. And another thing we have to consider, it's all well and good going, I'll just stick to 5-3-1 for 10 years. But it's like, yeah, all right, mate, I'm not a robot. Like, I need to have variety in my life.
Fun.
Yeah, and we're not utilitarian fucking machines here. Like, I want to have variety. But
do you want variety more than you want results?
It's, do you want entertainment by the process or the progress? Yeah.
Is that from a seminar somewhere?
It's just something that I came up with in an email.
Webby.
Webby. Do the Webby.
Splitting up with girlfriends. Fucking hell, man. Yeah. I mean, this wasn't one for you, but Jesus Christ.
It was one for me.
Oh, fuck, it was?
Yeah.
It wasn't one for me.
Wasn't one for you?
Yeah.
Was that because you were single?
Or
did you like your girlfriend?
I'd just broken up with a girlfriend at the time.
Job done.
But I did definitely spend too long in relationships that I should have got out of sooner.
Why did you stay?
I just needed somebody to sit down and explain box A, box B to me. If someone had done that, I think it would have been like the clouds parted and I'd be like, right, okay, I get it.
I
get it.
You can't open that loop without closing it, but it's a complex thing.
Just don't stay in a situation that's bad and expect it to get better.
Some cost.
Yeah. So I did that with my job. I did that with relationships. I did that with some friendships. I did that with injuries and training programs. Like, so many things you think, like, this is a problem. I'm experiencing discomfort from this, but it's all right.
It'll get better.
It'll be better next week.
It'll fix itself.
I mean, it's kind of obvious. It's a bit glib to say this, but all of our 30-second calls are, here's 3 things to stop, here's 3 things to start.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what else is there?
Well, you can only start or stop things.
That's it. Or keep going.
But I suppose it's, with what you just said before, the box A thing is like, when you're in a winning scenario, absolutely double down on that.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than
podcast platform, YouTube,
and what you were saying about
2010, Jesus.
Were you saying pulled in loads of different directions?
That was me, I think.
Was it? Right. So like, rather than thinking, it was what you were saying, I think, on a previous episode, like, you're doing A, then B, and the cost of switching between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you find something that you're doing in anything in life, like a skill that you're really good at, or a sport that you're really good at, or like,
go all in.
Whatever, just absolutely hammer down on that.
So, I mean, this is, again, it's, if I was to predict the advice, in fact, let's do that after this. Let's predict the advice that our 10-year self from now will give ourselves
It's
now.
so great that this will hopefully still be on the internet.
It will. Unless of course, it's post-apocalyptic death world.
Yeah.
And we're all Mad Max.
The great
the
leveler.
Russians.
The Russians.
The Russians. Yeah, it is. You'll be fine, though.
Oh, yeah.
You will. You can just go back to Egypt. So, yeah.
They give you all the AK-47s and stuff anyway, don't they?
Go back to Egypt.
Take your pyramids with you, mate.
Towel head. It's not even a racist term. It's like a childish insult, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
Dear brain.
Towel.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got some stuff about relationships that we've doubled down on things that we've stuck in things that were losing trades essentially, and we've just let them run. I was talking to Chris Sparks yesterday, productivity expert, poker guy, and he lives on risk, right? Top 20 poker players on the planet. He lives risk for a living. That's his job, to work out how much risk he's in.
Manages it.
And he does. And what he said was, at his end of year review, everything is up for sale. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he said, nothing gets grandfathered in from year to year. Nothing that I do.
That is cool.
Yeah, so everything has to earn its right.
Yeah.
Into
And he said he has 2 choices with everything that's in his life. Are you writing it down?
Yeah.
I recorded the call. I'll just send you the call.
Oh, Chris. Yeah.
Sorry, Chris, if you're listening, mate. I didn't ask your permission. I'm sure you'll be fine with it. So what he says is, as he ends the year, and this is such a clever heuristic, man. Oh my God. As he ends each year, he looks at all of the different things that he's doing with his life. Relationships, friendships, business, hobbies, passions, etc. And he has 2 choices. One of them is double the amount of time that he's invested on it, and the other one is get rid.
So practically, you have to cut, don't you?
You have to cut 50% of everything you do.
Right.
Well, actually, no, sorry, you don't have to cut 50% of everything that you're doing, because you could get rid of a load of little things.
Right. Okay.
You could actually cut 90% of the stuff that you're doing and it still only be 50% of the
But
time.
I suppose
or
what
you could
you're
cut
saying is
10% of the stuff that you're doing and it be
Depending
90% of
on
your
how
time.
things are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's the idea of always be questioning everything that you're doing, always be removing
always
things.
be narrowing, always be niching harder into what you are good at.
Till all you do is
such
just
a good question.
one thing.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, because the first part you're like, oh, that's hard, and then you're almost like, right, double or quit. You're like,
and that's the way. And he thinks about it from a poker player's perspective, right? Like every single year, at the end of every year, this is going to go out probably just shortly into the new year. Like,
so every habit, every relationship,
everything that you do, you have to either choose whether you're going to double down on it or whether you're going to get rid of it. And I think it's scary, but it's the way, it is precisely the way that everyone that we know is the best in the world at what they do. We don't know anyone, like polymaths of fucking new age media do not exist. Like there's Gary V's as close as you're going to get, but he's still one thing. He's just produce content, mostly video and audio.
I see him as Instagram, to be honest.
Repurpose around different platforms. Like there's no one, James Clear, just double down on habits. Just become the best on the planet.
He's big. Habits. He's actually big on, like, he credits his business growth to, he just wrote 2 articles a week. Like, one of his habits was writing. So he's like, I'm just going to write 2 excellent articles every single week.
That's what we did for 3-4 years, isn't it?
Were they all excellent?
We stopped though.
Were they all excellent?
They were
all, articles. We put a lot of time into that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, that's as something that you can try and take away, and I will be trying to as well. If you have something in your life, if you have a lot of things in your life, if you feel like you're spinning a lot of different plates, question why they're there. And think about, hang on, like, what is it there for? Is it there because it's grandfathered in, because it's already got a seat at the table, or does it actually deserve to eat? And if it doesn't deserve to eat, then like it can make room for someone that does. We're all a bit stunned by that double down.
It just makes you think, doesn't it? And the thing we just said about, like, what you just said about how, because people follow, like, this is very businessy, I suppose, but people follow, like, good writers, good podcasters, people who are really influential on Instagram, people who are great on LinkedIn, Twitter, and they're like, right, well, I need to do all of those things. But none of those people are worrying about anything other than that thing.
The thing, yeah.
And that's why they're there.
So the problem with spreading yourself too thin is if you have 100 units of talent and you spread it across 10 things, even if you are absolutely maxing out within each of those areas, you can only become as good as the 10 out of 100th person that's in that category.
Well, you'll just be beaten by the person who's doing one less platform than you, or one less thing than you. Mm-hmm. And you'll be annihilated by the person who's doing one of those platforms.
You just get out-competed by someone who's prepared to go all in on something.
Yeah.
But by that same token, because we don't have the benefit of fucking divinity moving forward, we all also want to hedge. We're also not purely utilitarian beings, so it means that we want to have different things going on so that we have variety that keeps us feeling alive, that keeps us having this diet of different things that make us feel interested and stuff like that.
And different things serve different purposes as well, don't they? Like, it's not like there's no such thing in anything that is a catch-all. This is the one solution. Yeah. This is the best thing. Like, there's no best training methodology. There's no best diet approach. There's no best recovery method. But it's about, like, picking the most effective for you, isn't it?
True. Like, you and to pick the optimum blend for the person that you want to be. Like, because going 10xing down on the one thing means that you become, by definition, a one-dimensional person. And if that's the goal that you're looking for and the person you want to be in 10 years' time, then that's it. But yeah, otherwise it's like, but the principle still applies, because you still cut out or double the things that you do care about, but you just pick that mixture yourself and say, right, that's the formula.
I still think as well that a lot of what most people will have the problem is a problem of abundance, not of scarcity.
Yeah.
The problem is that they're trying to do too many things, not that they're trying to do too few too well.
Too many choices, isn't it? It's not like I don't know what to do.
Do you know that
that have what, like a lack of options.
A too few too well problem. Yeah.
No, not at all. No one. Okay, so I mean we're all kind of a little bit shook after the fucking.
Based on that, what is one thing that you know that you should be doing but aren't now?
That's probably the wrong question to ask, I think.
Why?
Because I am doing all of them. It's what things
Just not
should I
enough.
get rid of.
Is there not something that you're thinking like, I really should be, like if you were to give yourself advice, you're like, I really should be doing this more, or I should be putting more focus on this.
Doing it more is different to like doing it at all.
All right, yeah.
Because that's putting another fucking seat
So
at the table.
where should your focus be based on
Because
what?
I asked our coach, like, do you think I should learn to code? Because that's something I'm not doing at all now. And
yeah.
and he said no, probably not, because it's not a good, like, it's such a big learning curve, and it's not a good use of your existing skill set. Just pay someone to code and do the things that you do best.
One of the things that's interesting, I guess, as you get older, is that the groove that you have greased is increasingly difficult to get out of. It's like, okay, I have this amount of time, and the opportunity cost of spinning back around
Starting
to
from
go
zero.
and go like, okay, I'll start coding now. It's like, well, hang on, you have all of these skills, all this experience, all this renown, all of this platform, whatever it might be that you have, and you're going to choose to no longer leverage any of that. So there has to be this acceptance of like, look, where am I now? What is the position that I'm in right now, and what are the skills that I have moving forward? Because I think all of the things that we've chosen, that we've said there, like, already leverage on stuff that we do. So for me, it was like, look, stop thinking about what other people think. That would have made me a better club promoter. I already was a club promoter. Focus on yourself and indulging in the things that you genuinely care about. That was something that I was massively lacking in. So that was getting rid of something I didn't need.
So what is an extra skill you can bolt on that won't just nullify all the previous experience that you've got? So in learning to code, I think if you have the skill of selling, and then you add learning to code on top of that, then you've got a combination that most salesmen or coders don't have the opposite of. And I think the people that do best at the moment, like big tech companies, because they can sell and code, they can build something
and then market it,
match it to the market and sell it. Whereas a lot of good coders don't think about front end or user experience or code or sales, and they're just focused on like the product and end up having this gap. Or they create something that the market doesn't need. So actually marrying those two skills would work really well. But
It's trying to find
what's easier, teaching a salesman to code or a coder to sale?
I think they're two contrary things, aren't they? They're so
why wouldn't you just get a marketing specialist in?
Yeah, so that.
Or you could say the same thing about why not just get a coder?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be
Just
both things.
learn to sell and pay someone to code.
Or learn to code and pay someone to sell.
But the person who can sell will be able to deal with the world once coding's just automated.
So I spoke to Benjamin Dennehy, the UK's most hated sales trainer, yesterday.
Right.
Kiwi guy. And he was like, when the cockroaches rule the earth and the atomic bombs have all gone off, he was like, people still need me.
Yeah, you still need to sell.
Still need to sell the atomic bombs.
Yeah. It's finding, so like in all the platform questions, like the thing that remains in all of it is email. So the thing that like Netflix, John Lewis, like Amazon, all these companies send email.
Email's Lindy, isn't it?
Lindy.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know what that is.
What? Okay, so the Lindy Effect is a mental model which describes the degradation of non-perishable goods and services. I think it's just like items, essentially. So, for instance, 1984 is a Lindy book. It's been around for 35 years.
Always there.
Therefore, you can presume it's going to be around for at least 35 more.
Right. I see.
Atomic Habits has been around for 1 year, despite the fact.
Right. Okay. Like, right. I remember
Email's
that.
Lindy. Like,
Right.
email's been around for ages.
So it's likely to
be around.
So there's a graphic that's like going around the internet at the moment of like things that happen per minute on the internet. Have you seen it?
No.
So
Things
like,
that happen.
Yeah, like per minute. So like the number of Snapchats sent, the number of Instagram.
Okay.
And like everyone expects like, it'll be like YouTube minutes watched or whatever, but it's like email, like dicks on all of it. Like the number of emails sent per minute on the internet is astronomical. But there are people who are like,
it is actually.
Well, email doesn't work. I need to be on social media. But then like people would not send emails if people were not reading them. Like it would be the most asinine waste of time.
Like everybody at work
is email.
is sending emails.
So like
constantly.
So I see whenever we're talking about that side of things, like where do we put their attention? It's like, well, as long as you've got an email list, as long as you're emailing, if you decide that Twitter's the thing, you just
send them
tell all your emails about it. So like I think often in every like area of your life, there's an email marketing version. So it's like, right, I want to work on my like spirituality? Like, is it reading? Is it like yoga, or is it just 20 minutes of meditation every day? Like,
That's the email marketing.
Like, so to me, I think probably the meditation, 20 minutes of meditation. If I'm not doing that, then I've got no business like reading a self-development book.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
I think
we've lost you, sir.
No,
Bamboozled.
it's just a hub and spoke model. So it's like the hub in the middle, the thing which is going to be there for the longest is email, and then everything else is just extraneous bullshit. Like that you build
like
on top.
Still adds to the picture, but is
I'm building a business. I'm working really, really hard on my Instagram.
Okay,
It's like, okay, how long is Instagram going to be around for? How many people have you got on your Insta? Oh, I've got 200,000. How many people get on your email list? Oh, I've got 2,000. Right, okay. Well, what happens when Instagram fucks off? Because email isn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's just in terms of allocating your attention. So it's like with fitness and nutrition, like, are you aware of your calorie intake? Right. Well, okay. Well, if not, like, don't worry about supplementation. Like,
don't worry about
calories are always going to matter. Are you progressively overloading in something? And then
don't worry about CrossFit.
Are
don't
you
worry about
doing email marketing? Yes, no.
If no, go back to are you doing email marketing?
It's the way to see it is like, if you and I are starting like a tick channel,
yeah,
and I have an email list of 100,000 people and you have 0, who is going to win at the game of growing a tick? What is
TikTok.
it? Is it a channel? TikTok. TikTok's email list. Dean looked so upset there. I knew that I'd said something wrong.
Dean worked in social media.
Is TikTok the thing that you sing into and then
like it's the new version of Vine,
like
it's
SingStar.
the new version of Musical.ly,
SingStar.
Okay.
TikTok's what we use as a task management
with Pomodoro integrated.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got about 10 minutes left. We've spoken about the fact that sticking to the program is a good idea. We've spoken about the fact that doing less better, or doing less more, essentially, is a pretty good heuristic to use. Young relationships should be let go of more freely than you think at the time.
They just probably won't matter as much as you think they do.
Seems pretty obvious looking back, doesn't it? How many people do you know that get together during Freshers Week at uni and then stay together? Like,
they do exist, but like, this is a
throw it out there.
dubious thing to say.
Pull the pin.
A lot of people that I know who've like been in relationships a long time, since they were like 17, 16, tend to have some kind of turbulence in their relationship because they haven't had the freedom aspect. There are obviously examples of that not being the case.
Well, Darren and Colleen,
People are together their entire lives.
business partners, and his missus got together in like, I think, second year of uni. It's like halfway through the second year of uni. And they're like the fucking British version of the American dream. White picket fence, 2 dogs, 2 kids. Like,
I mean,
amazing. But the problem is, they are the problem. They are precisely the problem because they give hope to the 19-year-old who thinks
that's the model,
that this is what's going to happen. So you, Darren, are the issue, okay?
It's like it's like saying like, oh well, Alan Shearer just played loads of football, so that's what I'm going to do because that'll work for me.
Yeah. Okay, so what
maybe
else?
not quite that big.
survivorship bias.
Yeah.
What else have you got on your phone, Johnny? What else was in that list that we've maybe missed off? 'Cause you basically did the list for us 3.
The catch-all thing that I added at the end that just covers everything is ask for help.
Does that get a coach?
Yeah. Well, so it's do 5-3-1, start meditating. Don't, when you do things, go to events, they're almost always a good idea. It's like there's so many things that I'm like, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't go to that, I won't go to that party, I won't meet that person for a coffee. It'll be shite. You go and it's mint.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Say yes to more adventures.
Yeah.
The
trouble with that is you can, I imagine, get into some deep water quite quickly.
You just say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Have you ever been even close to that?
No, but that's coming from someone who'd probably err on the side of like, that seems like a bad idea.
Introversion, yeah.
Whereas if you're like, I'll go to everything, and you start going to more.
I know more people that are on, and this might just be like my sphere of awareness bias, but I know more people that err towards our side, which is need to say yes to less in terms of business and projects, and need to say yes to more in terms of experience and adventure.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Start taking business more seriously sooner.
I couldn't have done that. That would have been fucking terrible for me. Right. I'd already like completely linchpinned my sense of identity to the success of the business.
Right.
Like if we had a bad night at work, I was a bad person. If we had a good night at work, I was worthy.
Right. Okay.
So doubling down on that would have just
would have been, it would have, for me, a better piece of advice would have been to have said, you are not your accomplishments.
It sounds like you almost merged your social life with your sense of this is business progress as well. Like whenever you went to a party, whatever, you were like
super messy.
Yeah. So
hard to not be the case when like probably everyone else's social life is your work life at uni. So you are the party guy.
It's the inversion of what is still now. If I speak to someone, hey man, like what are you up to this weekend? Like do you fancy meeting up or whatever? It's like, oh yeah, like let's go on a night out. It's like, well no, like that's what I do for work. I know it's what you do for fun, but what you do for fun, I do for work.
Like I'd rather just have a cup of tea and
just for anything that's not that. But for them, it's the novelty. It's the same as fucking Sienna Day. It's like if you've spent your entire day, we did a podcast with a porn star, if you haven't heard it. If you've spent your entire day getting DP'd off a huge Amsterdam man and his friend, like, and you come home and your partner's like, oh hi darling, how are you? Got my friend round here, he just fancies a bit of a go on you. Like you'd be like, oh mate, like,
but she is an exception.
She'd be like, oh I'm so fucking horny.
Yeah, that might be her idea of the best evening ever.
Yeah, true.
So
she really does. She's a goer.
The best thing about that podcast on YouTube is that the frame that she's in, you're also in. So there's times when she's talking about the most like vivid stuff and you're just like you should watch it, it's good. So start taking your business more seriously. The thing is, looking back, like had we done that, I might have wrecked it. Because I think probably there's part of the fact that we were just doing it because we just absolutely love doing it.
So it was emergent.
That's what got the organic inquiries, was the fact that it was just putting out content.
Because we were just interested in it.
It's what we tell our business clients now, isn't it? It's like, make content first. Don't just go be the weird uncle at the barbecue that tries to sell straight away. Give first.
Start from passion.
And just like the Google game takes a long time.
We were ranking first page on Google and getting organic inquiries for coaching clients from just like a standard WordPress template that we were just bashing out.
But Yusef wrote articles like literally 7 or 8 years ago that are still like the key drivers of our traffic. That's why I think search-based stuff, like, and it'll be the same for YouTube.
Lindy.
Like I imagine there'll be episodes of Modern Wisdom that are still ticking over daily. And
when we don't have stuff that surges virally, there is like 10 episodes on YouTube that just do 5k a day between them all, and it just sits at that, and that's now the new baseline.
So that's the thing, like compare that to Instagram. Imagine if you try to get 5,000 views a day on Instagram, the work required for that every day, whereas YouTube's just like it's the lazy river of the internet, isn't it? It's brilliant. Learn marketing and sales, we covered that. Learn to trade, learn to code, and ask for help.
The ask for help thing's a big one, man. Like,
especially when you're that age, when you're young, like I think you resist. I certainly resisted. Like I didn't hire my first fitness coach, which is mental, till like
23, was it?
Yeah. Fuck. So I tried for ages on my own, struggled on my own.
I wouldn't have at 18. I would have been like, oh, what do these guys know? Like,
we had hours and hours of conversations trying to figure out, like, is it all right to have 2 high carb days or is one?
That stressed me out so much.
Yeah.
The idea
so much so. One of the highest performing things we ever did was got John Kiefer on the podcast right before Carb Backloading was released. There was no thought in that other than we just need to understand whether it's all right to have fat in your backload or whether it has to be just carbs.
And that was why you asked him on the podcast.
And we asked him on the podcast, then I went on his podcast. And that was all just out of like desperation of like, John, how does insulin work? Please, can you explain it?
So in that program, like I remember, so you don't have carbs during the day, you have just fat and protein, and then 5 p.m, KFC bargain bucket, which is mostly fat dominant anyway. And
certainly from a calorie perspective.
And then a drink that was 100 grams of dextrose, 150 milligrams of caffeine,
5 p.m.
5 p.m. leucine,
because of like GLUT4 or something, wasn't it?
Caffeine was shuttling it into satellite cells.
Exactly.
Leucine, hydrolyzed whey, like all the most disgusting powders just put into one thing, and you just glug it down. Try and like hold your nose and make sure you don't vomit for the next couple of minutes, and you're like.
What I really miss about that though was that it was exciting as fuck, wasn't it? Like I remember
new frontiers.
Yeah, I remember like it was 6 a.m. and we were Skyping with John Kiefer for our podcast, and like being just beside myself with excitement about it.
And like doing the program, like the pump after having like 500 grams of sugar and just training.
I remember having my carb backloading protocol included.
You did it for ages, didn't? So I remember you text me saying, "Can I have?" It was a picture of birthday cake saying, "Can I have birthday cake for carb backloading?" I was like, "Why did you have birthday cake? Why do you want birthday cake?" And your reply was just said, "It says on it party, and I like to party."
If anyone needed an explanation of the sort of arsehole that I was 10 years ago,
that was it.
Party Chris.
I remember you used to eat tins of chicken.
White chunky chicken?
Yeah.
Still in there.
That's amazing. Do you still eat it?
That's real.
Is it like backup stuff?
Desperate, yeah. Fuck, I've got no food. Like
chunky chicken with rice.
With rice, yeah. Good meal, man.
And I remember your reasoning for carb backloading was it was a reason that you had to go to the gym because if you didn't train, you couldn't have carbs.
Yeah.
So it was like burger and cheese and egg.
Clever way to do it. Okay.
Just calories. Boring.
We're coming to the end. What are some of the things that you've realised during this conversation, Jonny?
That wherever you are giving people the most advice, it's probably where you need the advice the most. That's something I hear a lot at the moment.
How so?
Like, I think the stuff that all this stuff that we've just said is all advice that we all need right now. And like, if you think about all the stuff you tell your friends, all the advice you're giving to people, like look at that area of your life yourself, because it's probably the area that you talk loads about, but you don't actually do much in.
Well, fantastic at talking a good game.
Yeah.
And of giving people advice that we wholeheartedly require ourselves.
Exactly.
What about you, Seth? Any little gems come out of this one?
Just short oil.
Yeah, short oil. Buy Bitcoin, short oil.
Well, like all of the things there, like we've gone general and specific, and actually all that advice does apply for the next 10 years too.
Yeah.
If anything, it's such a useful exercise.
It's the bet. We've all been tricked, haven't we? Into giving ourselves.
What is the advice we need now?
Yeah.
For our 40-year-old selves.
What would you give? What advice do you give yourself now? Should have been the title of the podcast.
Well, that one there it is.
There it is.
But we'd have said the wrong shit though.
We would have done, yeah.
Whereas we've said the right stuff now.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for that.
Parting thoughts. I think definitely, Chris sparks this conversation I had with him yesterday. That motherfucker. Like, saying nothing gets grandfathered into your life just because it's already there. Relationships, business, projects, passions, everything. And at the end of each year, everything's up for sale. Nothing gets a seat at the table. It has to earn its place to eat. And you either get to double down on it or it gets kicked out. Like, if you even manage to do 10% of that heuristic each year, like, fucking hell.
There was when I was in the throes of fitness obsession, there was a photo that Martin Burkhan uploaded onto Facebook with a glass of wine, like shredded glass of wine. And the photo just said, "Don't take this fitness stuff too seriously. Let the good times roll." And he then had a bit of a breakdown and wasn't on the internet very much. But like, I think sometimes though, like probably a bit of advice I should have had 10 years ago is like, it's all right to not like have all the answers, be exactly where you think you need to be making progress all the time. Like you can just have good fun.
Don't take it too seriously.
Yeah. Let the good times roll.
That is a great parting thought. Yeah.
Thanks to Martin. And always remember that Martin Burkhan is and has always been right about everything. Seriously.
Yeah.
In fitness.
Okay.
Every time we question something or think like, oh, he's a bit off on there, and then like
we get a little idea of our own that
half
Martin
a decade
might be
later,
wrong. We realise he was right the entire time.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to hurt. It is going to hurt if we look back at this in 10 years' time and all of the things that we've said are just like...
But that's the motivation to not let that happen. For heaven's sake.
That is the motivation, isn't it? It's trying to foresee what should I be. And the question that we're asking is, what should I spend my time doing? We have limited time on this planet, right? Like very few minutes. How do I make the most of them? And the first thing, I know that if Chris Sparks was here, he would say the first thing that you need to do is work out what you want. Because if you don't know what you want, you are actually flying in the dark. You're just going, well, why should I do this? Because it gets me closer to end goal. And if you don't know what end goal is, what the fuck are you doing? So
Yeah.
anyway, there may be some things that you want to discuss. You know where I'm at ChrisWellX on all social media, or leave questions in the comments below. Love to have a discussion about it. These guys at Propane Fitness, and what's the business one?
propanefitness.com/modern wisdom.
Free 7-step
It's just brilliant,
ebook
to be honest.
to get some free things.
We reveal like one thing that you would never believe on it.
Length of Yusef's penis.
It's a
You
secret
will not
that
believe it.
I can't tell you, that you'll have to go to that URL.
Give us your email.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe. Really appreciate you for dropping by. Okay. Bye then.
Okay, bye then.